Hello and welcome to the Monsters, Myths, and Mayhem podcast, the show about monsters, the myths behind them, and the mayhem they would cause in the modern day world. We are neither experts nor professionals, but we'll give you the best of our knowledge to help you make your own decision about these entities. Guess I should probably put a warning at the beginning of this episode that there is talk of children, death, murder, and eating in this episode. In case anybody does not quite like those types of subjects. You would think with this being a Greek story, there'd be incidents of rape, but not really in this one.
Surprising.
And it also does involve Zeus and Hera as well, so.
Wow, Zeus is whole ass in this, and there's no bad stuff like the R word stuff. Magic.
With this episode, we are going to be talking about the Lamia, or Lamia. I've heard it pronounced both ways.
I'm unsure. I don't know anything about it.
Well, the Lamia, English, weird. We'll just go Lamia. Didn't start as a monster, like most Greek myths. It was kind of a Medusa incident, but also not quite Medusa incident. But Lamia is a half woman, half snake monster entity that is known to go after and eat children. They didn't always start out, like I said, as a snake. It actually she used to be the Queen of Libya before she got involved with gods.
Okay.
She's very kind of involved with gods because her parentage, they say, could be Belus, could be her father, or Poseidon could also be her father. And Libya is her mother. She ended up actually being lovers with Zeus. Not the victim lover though. There was a consensual and having 3 kids with Zeus.
Somebody actually wanted him. Magic.
Yeah.
So she was a consensual lover of Zeus.
Yes.
Had 3 kids.
She had 3 kids, and then Hera found out about her.
Naturally.
And she knew once Hera showed up that something bad was going to happen because she heard other stories about Zeus and his previous lovers and what Hera does to them.
And still went ham with him. All right.
So Hera, naturally not liking her being a consort of Zeus, kills all her children that she had. All 3 of them just dead.
Whoa! Oh no!
Right in front of her.
Oof.
And this was it. And Hera came in right after Zeus just left.
Oh.
So, yeah, she came in, killed all of the Lamia's children. Lamia was bawling her eyes out. She said, "And as for you, you shall never know rest." Harry got rid of Lamia's eyelids. So that she'd never know rest.
Wow. That's like a whole other level of petty. She really didn't like her.
Then she paralyzed her from the waist down.
Wow.
And gave her fits of madness.
Oh, beautiful. So she made her a psycho.
Well, there's actually 2 versions to this story. So there's that first version I just told you. But then the second version is Hera removed her eyelids, paralyzed her from the waist down, made her go mad, and in her madness made her do a Hercules and kill all of her own kids.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't like either version.
So then, in the pits of madness, Lamia crawls out her window and out into the forest and the woods, just killing any children she came across.
So this woman, let me just get this straight. She's got no eyelids. Her children were killed in front of her. She's paralyzed from the waist down, and we all know that there was likely no wheelchair, so she's dragging herself all over the woods.
That is correct.
Is this, I'm understanding correctly?
Mm-hmm.
And then she goes and kills kids.
Yes.
All of that trauma, because her kids died. Now this lady's slugging it around the woods, killing children.
Yep, pretty much.
This entire story upsets me. It just, everything about it.
Well, you know how that part I mentioned about her being, the daughter of Poseidon?
Yeah.
God's magic curses kind of work a little bit different on other half demigods.
Yeah.
Well, Hera's giving her fits of madness and, paralyzing her legs down kind of changed out of her prediction. And as the Lamia was doing this, she slowly began to morph over time, where her legs kind of fused together and got scaly and became more of a snake's bottom. And her appearance became more disfigured and gruesome. And she was able to unhinge her jaw like a snake.
I'm having a great time now. This is great.
And then she grew fangs as well that were venomous.
So Hera went to intend to disrupt this lady's entire life by making her paralyzed. And instead, this lady adapted and grew into a I'm gonna unhinge my jaw and eat you snake form.
Yes.
That is majestic. Continue, please.
And so she was, doing her thing, hunting all hours of the night and day for children, she preferred when the children got in water. It'd be easier for them to snatch. Because, she could swim easier with her snake tail.
No kidding.
And, well, the gods, or the people, started praying to Zeus, of all people. It was like, hey, there's a creature that we call Lamia here. We believe it's Queen Lamia. Can you do something about it? Zeus ends up confronting Hera about it. Hera's like, yeah, I did that. Well, did you know she was part god? Yes. And I say, well, Zeus, you can go clean it up.
Well,
So she ends up sending Zeus along this journey to find her. And one stormy night, when she was about ready to snag a couple more children to eat, from head to toe, as you do as a snake lady, you just swallow them. Zeus, still having feelings for Lamia, even after all this, couldn't kill her. So in order to still fix the issue, but without killing her outright, decides, hey, how about this? Let me just give you eyelids again. And this is where it kind of splits again. So one part of the story says that Zeus gives her new eyelids made of stone. That way she'd be able to rest. And then she could rest and her madness would kind of settle.
I feel like stone eyelids was not the answer, though.
The other figure that Zeus came up with was, I shall let you know rest. Here's this jar. Put your eyeballs in it during the day.
Neither of these solutions were fantastic. Zeus, I would just like you to know that if you're ever listening, I have questions. Thank you.
Then, so she could take her eyeballs out during the daytime, put them in this jar, and then during nighttime, she'd put them back in and then still go out and hunt children.
I just feel like there's not a lot to say here. I am just appalled.
That wasn't the last thing that Zeus did for her either. The last thing Zeus did that I seen, possibly, was that Zeus said, "Oh yeah, after all those years of killing children, because you killed your own children, so it made you want to eat and kill more children. Well, your children are still alive.
Wow!
They are the creatures of the sea. I don't remember exactly which ones they are.
The audacity.
Because Poseidon's blood and all that.
Right. I mean, she was a demigod, and were these babies with Zeus?
Yes.
So these guys were like whole ass demigods themselves.
Yeah, like 3/4 of a god, even more than her. And they were cousins because isn't Poseidon and Zeus? Zeus was her uncle, right? Because Poseidon and Zeus were brothers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, back to the whole, Greek incest. I don't know if that really counts with gods. Probably.
Incest is incest, okay? Don't give Zeus a card.
Well, that was my story we kind of got to first, which kind of also described a lot about the Lamia. No eyelids, snake legs, a couple of pictures I've seen of the Lamia. It was funny because they had a snake from the waist down, and a snake from the bottom of the butt cheeks down.
What the heck?
It was just like thighs to, yeah. So you had a 2 butt cheeks and then snake
slowly formed together as one.
Yeah, which that version kind of makes sense a little bit due to how she became a Lamia, how she became the Lamia.
Right.
And she was still the queen of Libya too at the time until they just kind of monsterfied out of there and the guards didn't like her anymore. They didn't really give a good description of the Lamia besides just being so it changed over time. At first it was horrifying snake woman. Then it slowly started to change to beautiful seductress snake woman. Which seems to be how a lot of the female-oriented monsters go.
For sure.
Because there's another author back in the day that says that the Lamia became a succubus, or became a type of a succubus that could also shapeshift. And she could change her form out of a snake. And she would seduce young men in their dreams, lie with them, and then suck the blood out of their bodies while they slept.
Oh, all right.
So it's like an evolving creature.
Yeah, just kind of with the times.
Yeah. I think it's kind of went back to the mainly snake. The only kind of source I found that didn't kind of corroborate that was D&D.
Ah, I'm listening.
This is kind of more media related we're going into, but the Lamia in D&D is as the description states, a Lamia has a beautiful humanoid upper body that merges into a powerful 4-legged leonine form. Its vicious black claws speak to its predatory nature, as does its hunger for torture and humanoid flesh.
D&D's description isn't bad.
No, it just strays away from the snake. Instead of the snake body, it puts a lion.
Yeah,
It's more of a cousin to the centaur than
to a gorgon.
Yeah, but in the D&D one, it also said that it could change its lower half to any other 4-legged animal.
What?
Yeah, so it could change it to a horse and try and blend in with a centaur. And it's also said to either be covered in grand jewelry, living in deserts and temples and such, able to scry on people through long distances through magic and a puddle of water. And it's either dressed in grand jewelry or completely naked. Those are the only 2 options.
She's extra. I got you.
and she sends like jackal wares to do all her bidding.
We love an extra queen. That's fantastic. So here's a whole other thing. Like, is she living in the same area that she was queen of? So do they just like know that their queen went psycho and is eating all their kids now, or like did they just like move on to a new queen and forget?
Oh yeah, she never left the area, so all the guards knew that she turned and knew what she looked like and seen her, and for a while she was okay living there without one or two children going missing. Could be the tide, but 20 to 30 children going missing and finding large snake marks. Plus, her old guards kind of kept things in line for her for a while, and then there was a rebellion, and they crowned a new queen. And the new queen just like, yep, get rid of her, as you do.
It reminds me of like a lesser Medusa, kind of. Like, obviously Medusa didn't go for kids and she didn't eat them. But just the description and the turmoil. Obviously Medusa did not bring hers upon herself and like sleep with someone else's whole husband under consent. But it just kind of like, in the end, she reminds me of like a lesser Gorgon, a lesser Medusa.
Yeah. I think the snakes have a lot to do with that, but I don't know what it is with the Greeks and snakes, but there seem to be a lot of snake-related monsters. Cerberus had snakes all over him. The Hydra was snakes. His name's slipping me now. King of the monsters. Father of the monsters. Starts with a T.
Tiberius? No.
I think it's close to Tiberius. Typhon. Typhon had a lot of snakes.
And you know what's crazy is the snakes actually meant like healing.
Yeah.
Back then, like that was like their mark for healing, but yet they gave like all the big bads snakes.
Snakes are kind of double-sided in meaning, I think, because snakes could also mean poison with their poison and venom. But you're right, it does mean the healing. I think we still even use their symbol for healing today. The double snakes that kind of cross around and go to a heart in the center.
Yeah, it's like a worldwide healthcare symbol.
Yeah. Kind of moving a little bit back to the media. Some other places you can find the Lamia is, in anime-wise, it's Monsters Musume, Everyday Life with Monster Girls. One of the main monster girls is a Lamia. The Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime has a Lamia in it. Monster Girl Doctor, the main nurse, is a Lamia that helps out the doctor. Rosary Vampire has one, and so does Dropkick Mom My Devil. Also, in video games, Final Fantasy has Lamia in them that you can fight. They also got a separate species of Lamia in there called Queen Lamia. So it's kind of evolved from the Lamia just being a single person to Lamia being a species or genre of just snake women in general. So I'd put, are the Gorgons technically Lamias? I'm not sure which one came first.
I'd say probably the Gorgons because they talk about them during Titan times.
That would make sense. But yeah, I just know in most cases when someone's talking about snake girls, they usually refer to the term as Lamias. I'm sure there's other places that Lamias can be seen, whether it's probably Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon. I don't think there's a Lamia, just because unless you just count the snakes like Ekans and Arbok, because they don't make half-humanoid creatures. Unless they mix them a little more, like Gardevoir or Mr. Mime.
Mewtwo is a whole ass man. I don't care what anybody says.
That's true. Yeah, he's Mew. He's a Mew mixed with a man. That's all I kind of had with the media, unless you knew any more. Do you want to move on with the Mayhem?
Full send. I don't know much about her. I've been learning, so.
Okay, so Mayhem-wise, with what you learned today, what do you think she'd be capable of? Let's say singularly first. Besides sleeping with Zeus.
Technically, the only place she'd be causing problems is Greece. If we go, like, right by the the actual lore of her staying in her area. If she was able to roam and kind of, like, went everywhere, I would imagine it could potentially be a pretty big problem for wherever she's residing for that, year or molt or month or whatever. It could be problematic because then you've got to like have a whole session of like keeping your kids inside, like maybe they're not in the woods for like a month or whatever when she like rotates if she decides to do like where they kind of migrate. I don't it would just be it'd be difficult for sure.
Kind of like those Shark Week and uh, jellyfish warning signs they put on beaches.
Yeah, like when they're coming through with migration and stuff and the jellyfish are real like out that day and they put them up. Yeah, it would have to be like that. It'd be like instead of a tornado warning, there'd be a Lamia like siren so you know when she's in the vicinity. With today's technology, I feel like we could do that because we could like as humans, we could probably like tag her so that way we know where she's at and where she's located, stuff like that. But you know, potentially just like taking all of that, you wouldn't know if she was there, whether or not, like, you wouldn't know whether or not she was there at all unless she started eating kids. And you'd saw like snake trails and stuff like that. So you wouldn't know until it was like too late, kind of thing, without the technology.
Oh yeah, and she wasn't stealthy at all. The townspeople knew where her cave was and knew where she lived. They even had tales that she was the boogie woman.
They never went in there and tried to like set her on fire and shit.
Nope, too scared.
Pity.
Yeah, just a single one out exploring the world. If she could be in Greece, I don't think it'd be very hard to kind of keep her, know where she's at, keep your children away. Maybe she'll move on to eating Bambis or some other type of small game, but I think she prefers humans, so she'd probably go into towns, I'd imagine.
Well, I mean, it's like a big thing with overpopulation now. So like, it's not like she would go ham most countries anymore.
Yep. I imagine she'd probably go to a lower. She would still have her human intellect somewhat, so she could probably go to some of the smaller villages and such where there's large snakes already.
I don't know though. I don't feel like she's planning out that far. I feel like she's just like, I'm gonna kill these kids and be here. You know what I mean? Like I feel like she's just not planning it out that deep.
Not much of a traveler.
Right, and she doesn't seem to like give a shit whether people know or not. So it doesn't seem to I don't know, it doesn't seem like she'd like attempt to stay anywhere. I feel like she would like happen upon New York and be like, "Oh shit," and just start eating kids in front of everybody. You know what I mean? Like I feel like she wouldn't give a shit.
That seems more into her characteristics from what I read.
That's just the vibe I get. I just feel like she would like we would all be running in terror because this giant snake just came out and started eating our kids, and she would just be like, "I'm gonna go to my cave or find one now, find like an old parking garage or something and stay in it." Like I just feel like she would be in that sense. She's very dangerous because I feel like she could pretty much exist anywhere as long as she's got a steady supply of food.
I think it'd be harder to kill her too because she is still a demigod, technically.
Mm-hmm.
So it might take more than just a couple rounds or swords or take her down.
Yeah, we'd have to pull some stuff out of our butt because like you could do like anti-take rounds and stuff and see if it would, inflict damage. But there's always with these demigods, there's always like a specific dagger that you can obtain from Hera themselves and stab her with in this certain area. It's like always complicated. So I feel like we could like maybe sever her or like keep her pieces away from each other. Like if they were able to release anti-tank rounds and like sever her and put her different places and keep her apart like that, but then you always run the stupidity of museums putting her back together and like, obviously. But I just feel like she's one of those stories that you would have to like go visit Hera's temple and be like, I need to kill her.
I think one of the safer bets without actually killing her would be finding her during the daytime and stealing her eyeballs that she puts in the jar because she cannot hunt without her eyeballs.
True, you could. Yeah, that's true. You could find the jar, if that's that story, though.
Yeah, that's that part. And if you can even find where she keeps them, it's like a litrus phylactery in D&D.
Well, and she doesn't care. So I feel like she'd be sloppy. They would just be with her. You just have the balls to go in and be by her.
If there's a whole bunch, like an army of them, then yeah, it'd definitely be harder to knock them all out. But I imagine if there's more like the species concept, they wouldn't have the immunities that the queen would.
Right. I think that's really all I have. My biggest thing is just like, she would reign terror, obviously not terrestrial terror, because I feel like there is ways to defeat her and ways that we could just not even as like we wouldn't even have to technically have the military. Would it be nice? Yes. Would we have to? I don't think so. So I feel like she's maybe not terrestrial level chaos, but she's definitely not on the lower end, because she would really just pop up in these cities and eat these kids. Like she would not care. So it would be a dangerous existing state for anybody she was living near. If she stayed in Greece, if she came over here, if stuff like that, it would definitely be a task, and she would definitely cause issues in modern day society for sure.
I feel like she would like to stick around boarding schools.
Yeah, probably, because there's like almost
and
zero
orphanages.
guidance. Yeah, Harry was lucky that there was nothing at Hogwarts like this, because they'd all just been eaten. But yeah, she's pretty self-explanatory. Like she knows what she's doing, and that's why she's doing it. So I just feel like she's a pretty straightforward creature to talk about this week, but her story is definitely insane. I knew nothing about her, so it was definitely an interesting learn. I am going to look more into it now because it piqued my interest, but I think that overall she's just a genuinely bad guy. She just not be the vibe. She's just eating kids out here because she messed up and cheated on somebody with a dude that wasn't even important and got her kids killed. And now she's out here eating kids. So there's no redemption arc for this one. We would immediately hunt her and find her and not allow her to be in modern day society, I feel like.
People usually take threats to children pretty seriously nowadays. So.
For sure. And we have a lot of firepower nowadays to do other things, especially with the military. So it'd be a different experience for sure.
Well then, I guess we'll do the Patreon shoutouts. This week is Thor, Mondi, and Ruby Hummingbird. Thank you for supporting. And now with Chaotic with the weather, outro.
Oh yeah, I can do that. Hang on. Join us again next Monday on Monsters, Myths, and Mayhem, found on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Anchor.fm. Silver and Chaotic talk about how monsters and myth came to be and how they would be received in modern-day society. Follow, like, and subscribe to support. Also find the podcast on Twitter and Discord with the links below to keep up to date with the newest merchant activity. Besides, who knows what mayhem we will get into next.
Roll the music.